Hello and welcome to another episode of Fighting Femmes, Fiends, and Fanatics. My name is Todd Statman. I'm the author of the blog Die, Danger, Die, Die, Kill, aka 40K, and I'm also a contributor to Teleport City. Today, I am very excited because I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite movies, that movie being a 1968 Hong Kong film entitled Temptress of 1,000 Faces. Hong Kong's legendary Shaw Brothers studio is today most famous for its many classic martial arts films, but we now know that the studio was an all-purpose producer of genre films for the Asian market. Those films included romances, musicals, crime dramas, horror movies, and of course during the Bond mania of the 1960s, spy films and action thrillers. A number of Shaw's spy films, like 1966's The Golden Buddha and Summons to Death from 1967, were directed by Lo Wei, a producer and former actor who reliably churned out a prolific assortment of titles for the company between 1964 and 1970. And while those thrillers typically boasted some colorful sets and costumes, they felt a little perfunctory overall, never really taking off in quite the way you'd hope for them to. By contrast, Temptress of 1,000 Faces, which was helmed by Korean director Jang Chong-wo, is a movie that really hits the ground running and never lets up, packing each moment of its brief running time with deliriously overheated, cartoonish thrills. While not crediting it as a source, Temptress's story borrows a lot from French director André Hunebelle's 1964 film Fantomas, which was a swinging 60s update of the turn-of-the-century pulp master criminal of the same name. In adapting that story, Temptress's main change involves a cheeky bit of gender flipping that results in both its villain and protagonist being female rather than male. Our master criminal in this case is the titular Temptress of 1,000 Faces, a daring thief and mistress of disguise who, as the movie starts, appears to be holding Hong Kong in a grip of fear. That Mistress of Disguise entry on her CV provides the opportunity for that glorious 1960s spy movie trope by which a clunky-looking rubber mask magically assumes the texture and appearance of human skin once daintily patted down onto the face, enabling the wearer, regardless of her bone structure or body type, to become the exact likeness of a completely different member of the cast. See? And in the opposite corner we have dedicated, no-nonsense, but of course also impossibly glamorous Hong Kong police detective Ji Ying, played by the lovely Tina Chin Fei, who initially raises the ire of the Temptress by publicly denouncing her in a television address. Once a shop window displaying TVs broadcasting that address has been blown up for absolutely no reason, it's not long before Ji Ying receives a summons from the Temptress in the form of a drugged rose, whereupon she awakens to find herself bound and inexplicably lingerie-clad in the villain's subterranean lair. By the way, the Temptress's lair, cavernous and cartoonishly artificial, filled with outlandish props and bathed in Bava-esque colored light and fog, is exactly the kind of set that the Shaw Brothers excelled at during their heyday. And to complete the effect, the Temptress has staffed it with a bunch of veiled handmaidens, masked ninjas, and machine gun-toting female guards in biker shorts. Because it's awesome, Ji Ying is forced to fight with those assorted guards and ninjas for the Temptress's amusement. She is then subjected to some kind of vague torture that involves her being spun around in a glass chamber with lots of flashing lights and sparks. I don't know what this is meant to accomplish, but it definitely meets with what seems to be Temptress of 1,000 Faces' #1 requirement, in that it looks really cool nonetheless. The Temptress ultimately lets Ji Ying off with a warning, presumably to leave open the option of again kidnapping her and subjecting her to further abuse, which she does. In fact, as the movie progresses, it seems that the Temptress has increasingly deprioritized the committing of daring robberies in favor of abducting and tormenting Ji Ying at every possible opportunity. The final insult to Ji Ying comes when the Temptress, disguised as Ji Ying, goes to the apartment of Ji Ying's boyfriend, Yuk Dat, and makes love to him, forcing Ji Ying to watch the whole spectacle on closed-circuit TV from her cell back in the Temptress's lair. Not surprisingly, this proves to be the last straw for Ji Ying, and before you can say, oh no she didn't, she has at the expense of many ninja lives made a rage-fueled, negligee-clad jailbreak, and is zeroing in on the Temptress with payback in mind. One of the things I love about Temptress, apart from its engaging combination of kitsch and kinkiness, is just how truly female-driven it is. Other of the Shaw's action thrillers from the period, like the Angel with the Iron Fists film starring Lily Ho, featured woman protagonists, but always made sure there was a male co-star on hand to do the heavy lifting. By contrast, it is Temptress's female stars who are always moving the action forward here, whether it be in the film's numerous bone-crunching fight and stunt sequences, or in those moments of borderline satirical, hyped-up melodrama that lend the movie so much of its high-camp appeal. On the other hand, it's the film's male lead, Chan Leung, playing Ji Ying's boyfriend, who gets relegated to the typical female roles of passive lust object and damsel in distress. And interestingly, it's only when he takes on a female guise in a scene where he impersonates Ji Ying in order to clear her of a crime the Temptress has framed her for, that he is actually allowed to move the narrative forward in any way. Director Jang Chong-wo had been directing films in his native Korea since the early 50s, but Temptress was among his very first films for Shaw Brothers. Several years later, he would direct what is probably his most famous film, King Boxer, which under the title Five Fingers of Death would later become one of the first Hong Kong martial arts films to have a successful theatrical run in the US. Given Jang's track record, it probably comes as no surprise that the action in Temptress of a Thousand Faces is both expertly staged and furiously paced, but Jang also has to be credited with making a film that distills a certain delirious 1960s pop art style down to its most thrilling and colorful aspects. Temptress is indeed one of the era's great comic book movies, with a bold graphic style that makes it stand proudly alongside movies like Danger Diabolique and Barbarella. And if that doesn't strike you as an emphatic recommendation, I'm not entirely clear on why you're watching this in the first place. And that is all for me for now. Once again, this is Todd Statman. Steve Mayhem, the man with the gift of a golden voice, will be back for our next episode. In the meantime, you can keep track of my movements at die-danger-die-kill.blogspot.com. Thank you, and so long.
Right now. We won! 3 cheers for the mounted police. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
Everybody rendezvous back at headquarters. Over and out.